All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give everyone a couple of seconds to log on as we are right at 7 o'clock on the dot, but not too long because I know everyone can go back and look later. Okay. All right. Well, good evening. My name is Erin Keener, and I am on the admissions team at School Year Abroad, or SYA. I'm very excited for you to be joining me tonight. We have a good itinerary. We have three amazing alumni who have joined me. So, just to give you a broad structure of the evening, I'll have our alumni introduce themselves in just a second, and then I'll give a brief presentation to get you the overview of the program and get everyone up to speed, depending on how much you know about us. And then we'll have each of our alumni come back to share a little bit about their experience, and then we can break into the Q&A as well. If you do have any questions that come up, don't hesitate to put them in the chat or comment them below. My lovely colleague Sarah can answer them, and we can also bring them back at the end. Of course, if we don't get to your question, we are more than happy to follow up later. So don't hesitate to put those in at any time, and we'll get to those at the end. All right, without further ado, can we introduce our wonderful alumni who are here with me? Okay. Well, I'm just going to go in the order that I see on my screen. So AP, could you get us started?
Yes, of course. Hola, buenas. Me llamo AP Jefferson. Soy de Richmond, Virginia. Y ya soy una senior at St. Catherine's School. Y el año pasado fui a España todo el curso. Bueno, ya está. Hi, I'm AP Jefferson. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm currently a senior at St. Catherine's School in Richmond. And last year I went for my junior year all for the full year in Spain.
All right, Carson, can you go next? Oh, I think you're muted. All right. I can't hear Carson personally, so we're just going to go on to Emma, and then we'll come back.
Ok, buonasera a tutti. Mi chiamo Emma McDermott e vengo da Greenwich, Connecticut e adesso faccio l'ultimo anno di scuola a Greenwich Country Day School e l'anno scorso sono stata in Italia per il terzo anno della mia scuola. Hi everybody, my name is Emma McDermott. I am from Greenwich, Connecticut, and I am currently a senior at Greenwich Country Day School. And last year I did my junior year abroad at SYA, Italy.
Amazing. All right, we'll give Karsten another try, hopefully. Oh, okay. It's not coming through on my end, so we'll troubleshoot in the meantime. But Karsten is our lovely representative who was in France last year, and we'll try again after the presentation so you can get to know him a little bit better. All right. So I will get started. Share my screen real quick. Okay, so I want you to picture this. You are traveling in Europe with your friends. You are learning a new language by speaking with locals, and you're living with the host family. Now, if you can picture this and you're even the tiniest bit excited, then it's time to consider applying to spend either a year or a semester with School Year Abroad. So we have campuses in France, Spain, and Italy. And SYA will give you the opportunity to discover a new city through the eyes of a local, to gain independence, and to really have a new global focus. We're here to turn your learning journey into one that is less focused on textbooks and more on real life experiences and adventures. Now, we do have a video that I'm just going to skip over real quick, but I do encourage you to check out our video on YouTube after this. So all of our students live with personally matched host families. And this is really key for helping you fully immerse yourself in the local language and culture. And it really helps you feel at home while living abroad. You'll be part of a small student body composed of sophomores, juniors, and seniors from high schools across the US, just like yours. And you'll go to school at a small campus that is just for SYA students. So you can see each of our campuses pictured down below. So for those of you who are interested in applying to France or Spain, we do require that you've completed 2 years of the language before going to SYA, whereas those of you who are interested in applying to Italy do not need to know Italian before heading off. Now, I realize that regardless of your language level and regardless of what country you're interested in, it can seem really intimidating to think of spending and living a whole year or a semester in a different language. But I really want to encourage you and assure you that a wide variety of language learners excel at SYA due to the fully immersive nature of our programming. The idea is not that you land day one feeling 100% confident, but rather that you learn through immersion while you're with us. So we have a very experiential curriculum. And as part of this, you'll take part in regular fieldwork days that will get you out of the classroom and engaging with the community and environment around you. So that might look like interviewing locals for political science, visiting a world-renowned museum for art history, or harvesting grapes for environmental science. Whatever it may be, we're here to help you take your education into your own hands and really see what you're studying in the classroom for yourself. You will also have the opportunity to travel to many different corners of your new host country, not just your new host city. We have academic travel trips every semester that get you out and about and exploring, from places like Bordeaux, France, to Andalusia, Spain, to Naples, Italy. All of our students also take part in an end-of-year capstone project, and this is an opportunity for you to really dig your teeth into something that excites you. The opportunities are truly endless, but to get those gears turning as to what is possible for you, these are some examples of recent capstone projects. We had a student in Viterbo, Italy, who researched fashion design and made her own outfit by hand. We had another in Zaragoza, Spain, who studied environmental sustainability and actually attended a conference in Spain in Spanish, speaking with local experts on the topic she was studying, and another in Rennes, France, who investigated local farming practices. Each campus also has an extracurricular coordinator, and with their help, you'll be given many opportunities to engage with the local community through artistic, athletic, musical, and service-oriented opportunities. So oftentimes, whatever you're passionate about here in the States, you can transfer overseas, or you could take it as an opportunity to try something completely new. Each of our campuses also coordinate local exchanges with local high schools to help you foster those connections and friendships in the community. At each step of your journey abroad, you will not only have the support of your amazing American peers, but also of American faculty members who will support you as they teach you in English, English, and math. You will also have local faculty members who will push you outside of your comfort zone as they teach you in the target language. They're also great resources as you're looking for what to do and planning some travel. Now, I realize that for many of you, college is on the mind, and if it's not, it will be soon. But I really want to assure you that colleges love SYA. So first of all, we do have a college liaison on campus who helps juniors start the college process and seniors to submit their applications. We're also an SAT and AP testing site, so you stay right on track in that regard. But more than that, our students find their voices overseas. And it's this voice, independence, and self-awareness that really helps you stand out to the schools that best meet your interests. You'll have a distinct story to tell and be able to demonstrate the grit and determination it takes to live in a new country and learn a new language. At SYA, we also believe that financial need should not be a barrier for students looking to study abroad. We are very proud that almost half of our students receive need-based financial aid or merit-based scholarships. We are very proud that we offer over $2 million in financial aid, and we have 10+ merit scholarships as well. We really want to ensure that SYA can be a reality for just about every student. Now, I realize this is a lot to absorb. Maybe you know all about us. Maybe this is something that your kid just brought home from school today. But I really hope you consider SYA as a risk worth taking. It's a wonderful opportunity to change up the high school routine, do something completely different, and really watch language come to life around you, whether that be in Rennes, France, Viterbo, Italy, or Zaragoza, Spain. Now, our application deadline is February 7th, so there's plenty of time to deliberate your application. And in the meantime, I really encourage you to follow us on social media. We're very active, and we have our campus reporters overseas who are making most of our content, so you don't have to just see from boring people in the home office like myself. And we have more of these virtual information sessions as well. So if you want to tune into future to hear from more alums, you are more than welcome to. Without further ado, I would love to bring our alumni back. All right, just give it one more try and see if it's working. You want to introduce yourself?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Karsten. J'ai étudié à SYA France l'année dernière et j'habite à Raleigh, Caroline du Nord. Hi, my name's Karsten. I studied at SYA France last year, and right now I'm living in North Carolina, and I study at Inlow High School.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're so glad that we have all three campuses represented today. So I'm just going to start off asking our lovely alumni a few questions. Emma, could you share a favorite class?
Yes, absolutely. So my favorite class at SYA Italy last year was art history, or ancient history through art. And it was a class we took that started out being taught in English and progressively began becoming taught in Italian. And how the class worked is we looked at different periods of ancient history and looked at the ancient art from those periods. But what really brought the class to being my favorite and to the next level was the experiential learning aspect. So certain days for class, our teacher would just tell us to go out into Viterbo and find a museum or find a church and find an example of a certain art style. Or on Wednesdays, we would have to go into Rome and go to a certain museum and find a piece from a period we are studying. So I loved being able to learn about the history of Italy while also interacting with it.
That's really wonderful. Now, thinking outside the classroom, AP, could you talk a little bit about extracurricular activities?
Of course. So the two consistent extracurriculars that I did throughout the year were baking and cooking. SYA in Spain has had a partnership with this culinary course taking place right near the school, and it's really awesome. Our instructor Victor taught both baking and cooking throughout the week to us, and it lasted all year. You sign up on a monthly basis, and it was really cool because you got to experience cooking traditional Spanish dishes and pastries as well. So that was one of my favorites. I also partook in some Zumba classes, and that was really exciting. Our instructor, he had a lot of energy and taught us a lot about Spanish culture and music, which was awesome.
That sounds like a lot of fun, both of those opportunities. Now, Karsten, I'm sure you have some good, as a former French student, I'm excited about this one. Could you share a favorite food? Oh, I might have lost him.
Yeah, my host family introduced me to my favorite food while I was in France, and those were galettes. So I remember when I had just got into France, we went on a day trip on the first weekend to Saint-Malo, and my host family took me for lunch with their friends who live in Saint-Malo to this amazing restaurant that served galettes. I'd never heard of them before, but basically they're what the French consider savory crepes. They're just made with different ingredients, so they're actually they're brown instead of white, and they have for example, eggs, cheese, ham in them. And I also got the experience to try these with my friends at different restaurants around Rennes, along with my teachers on advisory lunches on Wednesdays, because we had half days on Wednesdays.
That's wonderful. Yes, I concur. They are delicious and they are everywhere. And then Emma, could you share a favorite trip?
It's hard to pick a favorite, but I would have to say I really enjoyed our trip last year to Sicily. And we went to Sicily in March for about 10 days and went all around the island. And what I found super cool was before we went, Sicily is so different from the rest of Italy that we had to research the accents and the dialects and the different types of food just to be able to navigate ourselves there. And we spent about 10 days there. We went to Palermo, Catania, Siracusa, and Taormina. And in each place, we learned different parts of the history. And we also applied all that learning to our classes. So throughout the whole trip, we created an art history video, going back to art history, about each place and the different artistic methods and periods that were represented in each place. And I mean, it was just beautiful, and it was amazing to understand and witness a different culture within Italy. It was so different than being in Rome.
That's really neat. That's really neat. And then going more to daily life at SYA, I'm curious to hear about your host family's AP. Could you share a little bit about what living with a host family was like and maybe a favorite memory?
Yes, everyone at home knows that I absolutely adore my host family. But for some background, I lived at home with my host sister who was 23 at the time. And I had two other host siblings. One, Pablo, was living in Madrid. He's 21. And then my other host sister, she's 36, and she was living in Zaragoza with her husband. And then my two host parents and a host dog and cat. And they were both very friendly, and I loved them so much. But my favorite memory with my host family was in the first 7 days, they invited me to my oldest sister's wedding, which was super exciting and was a really unique experience for me because, it was in the first week and I wasn't feeling super confident in my language skills. And so being able to take that opportunity to dance and meet all of their extended family and really seeing where they come from. And it was a great opportunity to try really good food too. But it was definitely a breakthrough experience for me. And it kind of set the tone for my relationship with my host family for the rest of the year, which is great. And my host sister that I lived at home with, Laura, she is my best friend ever. I grew up with two older brothers, so I never really had a sister. And so we call each other our sisters now. And I send her videos every day. And she was especially helpful with learning Spanish because, a young perspective, helping you with slang and terms you might not understand at first is really great.
Yeah, I definitely hear time and time again that the most language you learn is with your host family. It's such an impactful experience. Now, Emma, could you share a little bit about a fieldwork activity? You already kind of did a little bit, but is there another one maybe you could draw on?
Yeah, one of my favorites was within the first weeks of school. You actually had some pictures on it in the slide. We go to a local vineyard in Viterbo, and this year actually it was my friend's host family's vineyard. So we got to meet her host family as well. And we go and we harvest grapes to start the fermentation process to create our own wine. And we picked our grapes, we drove them to the place where they separate the stems and the grapes. Then we went back to our school cantina, which I thought was incredible that we have a school cantina. And we started the fermentation process. And throughout the year, we would learn in our class agroecology about the fermentation process until the end. We learned how to finally bottle the wine, and we brought it home or left it at SYA to sit. So that was my favorite fieldwork because it ended up lasting throughout the whole year.
That's really cool. A lesson you could draw on time and time again. Yeah. And kind of satisfying at the end to see what you started at the beginning. And then off of that, could you tell us a little bit about your capstone project?
Yes, so our capstone project, at least in Italy, was based around and came from a class we had called Experiential Italian. And Experiential Italian was a class where you would learn about the culture of Italy. So it was more of a cultural and experiential project. So throughout my time at SYA, I did a ceramics course the entire year at a local studio where I built a lot of relationships. And when we were traveling to so many different places, I noticed that the art was so different in each place. So what I did for my capstone was every time I went to a new place, such as Rome, Napoli, or places in Sicily, I would interview local artisans and discover the differences in ceramics in that region. And for my capstone, I replicated different ceramic pieces from each region and talked about how they represented the regional identity. Because in Italy, for those who don't know, you go to a different region, you eat a different type of pasta, you hear a different dialect. So I wanted to represent that through art and also representing something that I did with my time there, which was ceramics.
That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing. AP, could you tell a little bit about the day in the life?
Yes. So my host family, we lived in the city center, in the historical city center. So I was only about 15-minute walk from school. Although most of my friends preferred to do public transport, it was equally as beneficial for me to just walk. So I walked every morning to school. It started at 8:45, but I had a free period, first period, so I didn't have to be in until 9:35. So some days I would just come in and do some work early, and some days I would sleep in. And then we have 6 classes, but 7 periods so that everyone can get that one free period. And so we took our language, so Spanish language, experiential Spanish, just like Emma said about experiential Italian. It's very similar. And then we have our English and math, which are the only 2 courses taught in English. And then I took my 2 electives were art history and environmental science, which were my favorites. But I really enjoyed the English course because it was targeted towards us, because we were the ones like experiencing moving abroad and traveling and like learning about a new culture. So a lot of the reading we did and stuff we studied was focused on that experience, which I found really interesting. And we also read a really famous Spanish novel in English, which I found really interesting. And a lot of people decided to read in English or in Spanish as well. And then after school, a lot of people have sports like soccer, but there's honestly a lot of time for people to hang out because everyone knows that the Spanish day is very long. So after school, we ended at about 4:30. Oh, and we have a break at 10:30 where most people go to like a local cafe. But after school was a really great time, and we would sometimes go to like a different plaza or cafe and just hang out with friends. Sometimes we would go to Parque Grande, which is like this huge park, and it's beautiful. So that was really fun for me. And then eventually you go home at 8 and then eat dinner with your host family. My host family worked at different hours, so I'd usually only be eating with my host mom or my host sister. But other people are eating with, all of their family members. So then you get some work done and go to bed. But I really like every week we have 2 times, one for advisory and one for assembly. So our assembly is just a way to regroup and, learn about the upcoming academic travel. And then advisory is also really great. My advisor, Tomas, who is also my environmental science teacher, he was awesome. It's really great to have like a solid group of students to lean on because y'all are all experiencing the same thing. And the teachers are super understanding because they've been there for so long, helping so many like American students like immerse themselves in a different culture that they know exactly how to guide you. And it's just super helpful all through the year, not just at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's the best of both worlds. You're immersed, but you also have this amazing support system in place. And for everyone watching, so AP went to Spain, obviously, but this experience is very comparable. Of course, the slight variations in all 3 of our campuses. So it's a good overview. All right, Karsten, the big question. Why did you do it? What made you want to apply? What made you want to actually follow through when you got accepted?
Yeah, so my mom actually introduced me to SYA. I go to a really large public school, and I was actually the first person from my school to go and attend SYA. So it wasn't something that was very commonly done at my school, but I felt like I wanted something different my junior year. So when my mom introduced it to me, I decided, I'll apply and see if I get in. And then when I got in, I decided I really wanted to learn more about French culture, improve my French, and have a different kind of learning environment for a year, especially going from a school of about 2,500 people to a school of about 60 people. I wanted an experience of smaller class sizes. And also another thing that was really interesting to me was learning through the experience and kind of using the place to learn about each of the topics. And those were a few of the reasons I decided to apply and ultimately end up going.
That's wonderful. And do you feel that it kind of fulfilled your hopes?
Yeah, I think SYA changed my life. I don't think I'd be the person I am today without my experience last year.
That's wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, thank you all for sharing. Those were our kind of pre-prepared. I do know that some of you have submitted questions already. And we'll keep an eye on the chat or on the comments as well. So first of all, we had someone ask if you can apply for 2 countries. So as long as you fall within the language requirements, you can select a first and second choice country on the application. So that is definitely an option if you want to be considered in 2 different pools. I have another question that is, how fluent do students need to be in the home language before they attend the school year abroad program? So as I said in the presentation, you do need to be in level 2 or higher. We have a wide variety of language learners. Italy, most people are beginners. But in our other countries, we have everyone from level 2 all the way up to the highest levels. I don't know if anyone wants to share a little bit about what that was like coming in to a group, starting the year in the language. Karsten, do you want to share just adjusting to French a little bit, or what level you were at?
Yeah, sure. Well, I came into SYA France with 4 years of high school level French, and it was definitely a big adjustment at first, going from I was only speaking it in class to having 4 of my classes in French, and then all of my all of my extracurriculars in French. So for me, that was cross country and track, and also my home life in French. And it was definitely adjustment at first, listening to especially my teammates and my coaches try and give me tips on how to run better, tell me the workout, because it all sounded like gibberish at first. But as the year progressed, it definitely got a lot easier, and I definitely built strong connections with each of those people while I was there.
Thank you so much. So we have a question that came in. What is the daily amount of homework load? And how does it compare to your US high school? Does anyone want to take this? Or shall I call? AP, could you answer this?
Yes. So I would say it's kind of a different type of homework because we're more like project based than like test and quiz. We did test and quizzes just to make sure we were like keeping up with like this language level, but other than that, it was mostly projects. Like, you know, the capstone is just the biggest one, but we were doing them all year. So I would say it was just different because we had different teaching styles, but I would say we had slightly less homework than I do at my home school, but my home school is also pretty challenging with the workload. This is just so that you can allow for like more time to interact with the culture. If like the workload was too overwhelming, I feel like we wouldn't really have been able to like succeed with, you know, creating bonds with our host family or interacting with the city that we live in. But, you know, it depends on the person and, you know, what school they're coming from and, you know, how they work.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so this is another question, sophomore versus junior versus summer. So all of our students here went for the junior year, so they can speak a little bit on that. I will just preface this and say sophomores and juniors are completely integrated. So we enroll sophomores, juniors, and seniors. The majority of our students in all 3 campuses are juniors, but they aren't separated based off of grade level. They're one cohort. They take their classes together. The only class would be in, you know, French or Spanish. They take a placement test to determine their level, but that's based off of language level, not of class year. And then before I hand this over to my alumni, I will just address, we do have a summer program. It's a 5-week program, and it's a little bit different, and I'm happy to connect you with our summer program coordinator later, but this is much more focused on the year and semester long, and as we have 3 year-long students here. Does someone want to address kind of what it's like to be with different grade levels, or did you even notice by the end?
I can talk about it a little bit. So, as you said, we were all there for our junior year. I actually didn't realize by the end. I remember I was talking to someone when we were saying goodbye, and when you say goodbye, we're all such great friends. And I go, it's okay, you only have 1 more year without us, and then we can all come back. And she goes, no, I'm a sophomore. And I didn't even realize at the end. So I think you all just mesh into this 1 year in your SYA class of 2024. It doesn't matter if you're a senior, junior, or sophomore. I will say in my experience, the difference of the years, because everyone talks about the cultural shock of getting to Italy or Spain or France, but no one talks about it when you get back, because now you're in America again. And I do think personally for me, it was a little easier to integrate back into my own school, knowing that it's senior year and that it's a little more lively than other high school years. So that was my personal experience. So I don't know if that's the same when you're a sophomore or not. But as far as the collective community, we were just one community. There was really no difference.
Thank you so much. All right. So I have a question about financial aid. I'm happy to take this one. So our financial aid application, we use the SSF application. Information can be found on our website, and that application is due at the same time as the overall application. So that'll be February 7th. And we are committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated needs. So if we accept your student and you qualify, that you demonstrate that you qualify for financial aid, we will meet that need. So that is a possibility. And then we also have merit scholarships, which you can apply to. And information about that can be found on our website. And you'll see the information in the application as well. All right. We have a question about kind of the breakdown of full year versus semester. I will say the majority of our students are full year in all of our campuses, and we have about 1 section of semester students in each campus. And as far as fall or spring, that is very dependent on your student. And sometimes it comes down to a commitment back at home. Now we have 3 full year students right here. I don't know if anyone wants to kind of talk about that, how it was. Okay, AP, I see your hand. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes. So I was debating, while I was applying, if I would apply for the semester full year program, and I would have 100% regretted if I did the semester program. And obviously, there's a couple of things that go into that. I know a lot of people that did the semester program had to do it based on sports commitments, and so that's how a lot of people determine fall versus spring. Or if they have traditions at their home school that they don't want to miss, then they would do that. And also, if you want to take into account the weather, if you like warmer weather, do spring. But at least for Spain, it was definitely colder in the winter, or in the fall, sorry. But full year, by the end of the first semester, everyone was like, I wish I could have stayed the full year. So I really, really encourage anyone who's thinking about doing the full year to really consider it, because it's so much more rewarding. And a lot of the people who did the fall semester kind of felt like, they had just finally adjusted to the language and their family and, being there, and now they have to leave, and they felt like they had much more would have benefited from staying the full year. And I totally agree. So, and also you get to see all the holiday stuff too, throughout the full year.
Yes, definitely. We have the semester option, obviously, and for some students, that is the right fit. But I will say the full year experience. We are called School Year Abroad. We're historically a year program, and it's much richer. And having studied abroad myself, I can echo what AP said. You put in some hard work at the beginning, and we see our students really excel that second semester, which is wonderful. All right, so this is a question that I will send off to Emma. But regarding Italy, since many students start with little knowledge of the language, how proficient are you by the end of this semester or the year? So do you want to kind of speak on that, how you felt after first semester and how you felt at the end of the year?
Yeah, totally. So I will say a lot of kids before coming, I was actually one of the exceptions who had taken Italian for a year before coming to SYA Italy, but a lot of my friends did Duolingo over the summer. And if you do that over the summer, they were at the same level as me when we entered. But definitely I would say after the first semester, I could understand everything that my host family was saying, and I could speak to them, just maybe not articulate everything perfectly. And I couldn't exactly read as well as I wanted to, but by the first semester, I think I understood everything. And then the second semester was where we nailed out like tenses, and we would all my host mom would always get really proud of me when I would use a specific past tense because she knew I was working really hard on it. So after the second semester, I felt like I got more of that vocabulary and I was able to articulate my words better and also begin reading even in the language.
That's wonderful. It's really incredible what our students in Italy accomplished starting with 0. All right. So this is a question on the admissions process and how selective it is. And I'm probably going to give you a very frustrating answer that it's hard to say. So we have 3 different countries and 3 different programs within each country. So as you know, those are 9 different application pools, essentially. But what I will say is it does vary from year to year. Our semester program is always more competitive than our full year program simply because there's fewer spots. So that is something to keep in mind, but it does vary year to year. And what I'll say, it's a pretty self-selected bunch. Only so many students want to take advantage of this while they're still in high school. We have a pretty special group of kids. So of course, nothing is guaranteed, but I would just encourage every student who's interested to put their best foot forward, to submit a genuine application, and you'll be considered as such. And that's what I would say to that. How integrated are students in local life, or are they pretty much on campus with their host family? Does someone want to take this question? Maybe Karsten, could you share a little bit how integrated you felt into the city of Rennes? Did you feel kind of confined to the school? Just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I felt very integrated into the city, actually. I think one of the most important things for me to feel very integrated into the community in Rennes, not just the SYA community, was the extracurricular activities. I ran track and cross country, as I said earlier, and those were some really great ways to meet French people who had a common interest. And I ended up being able to, I still communicate with each of those people now and with my coach. And I think that was one of the most meaningful experiences I had, and it really allowed me to understand the culture better and meet more people.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. How does a year abroad help your college application? So we have 3 seniors here right now who are in the midst of college applications, but it's a little early. So I mean, from an outset, I can just say it really helps you stand out. A lot of students do all those check boxes and everything, but this is something that's really unique, and demonstrates a lot about the student's character. And not just them as a student. It does demonstrate all their amazing qualities as a student, but it also demonstrates their human qualities, that these are independent kids who are going to be really productive members of the college's cohort that they're bringing in. If you go to our website, you can actually hear a college admissions counselor kind of speaking to this point. I don't know if any of you want to take this, as you're still in application season. Okay, Emma, go for it.
So I have 3 older brothers who have already gone through the college process like 10 years ago. And I remember before I went to SYA, I had started thinking about the college process, and what really scared me is what I was going to write about. Because sometimes when you're in high school, you think, well, what have I done? I haven't started a company. Like, what have I really done? And then, as Karsten said, SYA, it truly changes your life. So I sat down to write a college essay, and I said, well, why don't I write it about how much my life changed? And the wonderful thing about SYA is it can look differently for everybody. Like Carson said about his track and field experience, or for me, it was a lot about art history. It really depends student to student. But I think it just gives you a lot to pull on because you have so much experience. And I think that also comes through your application, hopefully.
Yes, that's an excellent point. I would say a large majority of our students write about this, and also a lot of students will have one recommendation come from an SYA teacher and another recommendation come from a homeschool teacher as well. All right. So this is about how we find our host families and all things safety and security when it comes to host family, how they're qualified, monitored, compensated. So the majority of our host families actually come to us on recommendation from current host families. So SYA is actually celebrating its 60th anniversary. So we've been around for quite a while. And we have an amazing community of host families. So we have host families that have quite literally been with us for generations. And we have new host families who come by every year who we love just as much. So in general, they're known quantities from the outset. But beyond that, they are all background checked, which we take immense pride in. We have a host family coordinator on each campus who conducts an interview with every member of the family, and they do house visits. And this is a full-time staff member. So all of our students know who their host family coordinator was. They're available on campus if there's ever something that they need to bring up, if it's a simple mistranslation or if they ever need to troubleshoot. We do ask all of our students to give it the good old try. And all of our students who are here tonight did stay with their host family for the duration. But if anything were to come up, we do have extra host families available. And additionally, yes, they are compensated, but this is very nominal. It's just taking into account that they have an extra person in their house that they have to feed and house and everything. All of our host families do have to prove that they are completely financially stable and that they are not doing this for the money. This is really done out of a love for exchange. A lot of host families join us when their kids are young and they want to introduce their kids to exchange and foster this cross-cultural exchange. And some of them keep with it through their retired years because they just love it so much. So that's how we find them. All right. How did the program fit into your school's academic path? Are there science options available? So our course catalog is online, so you can take a look at that. And as far as science, in each of our campuses, we do offer an environmental science. So sometimes it comes down a little bit to just planning. A lot of students will maybe have SYA be a senior year elective and then just shuffle something around. Does anyone want to share a little bit about how this was? I see AP nodding, so I'm gonna go for you.
For me, my school has a specific plan for which sciences you take which year. So currently I'm taking biology, which is typically a junior year course, just to make up for that credit at my home school. But a couple other students, and I also have to take a push right now, which is also a junior course at my school. Those are the only two things that kind of got moved around. But one of my friends at SYA did do a US history course online while she was at SYA just so she could get it done before her senior year. So some people consider that. But yeah, I have a couple of other friends that had to move around a couple of things, but it's really not that big of a change,
Perfect. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of planning and prioritization. All right, this one is for Karsten. As an athlete in a full year SYA, what did you find you missed or gained from your U.S. high school athletic season abroad?
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the hardest things to decide for me about going abroad. I'm a recruited athlete for collegiate sports, and I knew I needed needed to run certain times to show coaches what I could do and hit their recruiting standards. And it was a bit of a risk to go abroad, not knowing what the training would be like there. But I actually found that going abroad really helped me during the recruitment process. And I feel like I gained a lot from the experience. Cross country was a lot different there. It's very muddy, and that was something that I was a bit worried about going into it, because generally cross country times are a way to be recruited. But it ended up actually helping me a lot in conversations with coaches, because it gave me a lot to talk about and a lot of experiences to draw on. And I also was able to show a lot of maturity in conversations with coaches that they noticed. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm where I am today.
That's wonderful. And congratulations.
Thank you.
A big deal. All right. Okay. So I realize we've had a very active chat, yes, I've realized we've had a very active chat, and we might not have gotten to all of your questions, but we will definitely follow up. My email is below. You can see that. It's ekeener@sya.org. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if I didn't make it to you, or if you have any further questions that pop up as you're contemplating SYA. Thank you so much for taking the time this evening to hear about this program. And thank you so much to our alumni for taking the time out of their evening and sharing their experiences. There's no better way to learn about SYA than from the people who lived it. So thank you so much, and have a lovely evening.